This is After the Final Rose with Dante and Alana, a siblings podcast talking everything Bachelor and Bachelorette.
Welcome back to another episode of After the Final Rose with Alana and Dante, a siblings podcast. We did not get out an episode last week. I know it's been kind of like a recurring thing, but our schedules are just too busy. Alana had a wedding. It's been tough to get us both together, but we're here now talking this week's episode of The Bachelorette. A lot of stuff went down, but quickly recapping last week's, it was all drama with Thomas. He did end up getting eliminated at the end. A lot of the guys came to Katie's defense and, stood up for the house, and they voiced their concerns about Thomas, and it pretty much sent him home, which I think we're all happy about. That pretty much was how last week's episode wrapped up.
Do you think Thomas will be on Paradise?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would be shocked if he wasn't. I think they're releasing the list of Paradise tomorrow.
Well, they released today the date that the show's going to air. I think it's August 16th.
Yes.
They finally picked a date.
Yes, and then it's either one of these days, maybe it's Friday, they're releasing, I don't know about the initial cast or just everybody that's going to be down there. I'm sure it's going to be loaded. But so this week, the episode starts, it was the morning after the rose ceremony. Thomas is gone. All the guys are like, finally, the weight is lifted. Finally, no more drama. And then Tayshia walks in first, lets the guys know that Blake Moynes, obviously with last week's episode, we didn't get to talk much about that, but Blake Moynes ends up coming on to the show, talking to Katie and telling her that, he'd love to give this a shot. She ends up letting him stay on the show. And then, like I was just saying, the next day, Tayshia lets them know they're clearly confused, not too happy. And then Blake walks in. It's a lot of awkwardness.
I honestly was not happy that Tayshia was the one to tell them. Like, I think it should have been Katie, and she should have had to give a reason, like, why she wants to allow him to stay. Like, I get that they wanted Tayshia to, I don't know, like, it was nice because Tayshia was able to speak on, like, him being a genuine guy, but Tayshia's not the one making this decision. Katie is. So she should have to give an explanation because these are her guys, not Tayshia's.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it does have to do with her speaking on his behalf. He was on her season. But yeah, Katie should have been, and she does end up addressing the situation. We do see Blake talks to the guys, tells him he's there for the right reasons. He says, yes, obviously this is my third Bachelorette now, but he feels like he couldn't let this opportunity pass and give him and Katie a shot. He does end up getting the one-on-one date. I was a little surprised about it because
I was annoyed.
It's sort of a slap in the face to the other guys, I feel 100%. Like, but at the same time, I guess he's just joining and she wants that one-on-one date could have been big. And I think she mentioned it at this date, like she could either keep him or send him home. There was no in between.
That's fair. I do get that, but I think that, like, you're the Bachelorette, so you pretty much can do whatever you want. And I think that she could have, like, I definitely don't think if she had like a mini date with him, not a whole one-on-one, she would have had the same connection that she did on the actual date. But I just am like, that's so, you just dropped the bomb to the guys and literally like a couple minutes later, then he gets a date card. Like, that's really frustrating. I'd be pissed if I was those dudes.
Yeah, I think in terms of like production, they had another one-on-one date to fill because obviously we'll talk about it later, but they do have another one-on-one date with Andrew. And I don't know if they were planning on two small group dates, which ended up being one big one. So they gave the one-on-one to Blake. But he got the one-on-one and they went on a little horseback ride. And Blake says how he was so terrified of horses growing up, which I thought was funny. But you see them,
because he's a big dude.
Yeah, he is. They start talking about like Blake's what he does, how he loves to travel. It was a little awkward. I feel like that's like, I think it's like that with everybody Katie's with, honestly. It's awkward at first.
It was like the horseback riding day part felt so uncomfortable. It was like they were meeting for which they were meeting for the first time, and they didn't really know like how to talk to each other. But I do think their date later on is much better. Like their conversations were so much easier, and like you could tell they had a connection. But the horseback riding date, I was like, I don't think she's gonna keep him. Like, this is really awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward. I was wondering, I don't really remember, and I didn't get the chance to look it up, what his job was. Just because he mentioned how that's sort of going to be a part of his future, like traveling and being in distant. Like he said, he's been in Africa before, and he's had to like live there for a month. But I definitely noticed, like you said, they definitely connected more as the episode went on. You can clearly see there's a connection between the two. That we may see Blake be sticking around for a little bit. He does end up getting the rose, which I wasn't surprised about as we got further into the date. But she did open up. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but her story about how she didn't give consent about 10 years back, which I think it is important for Blake to know. Because all the guys, up being
him, like she told all these other dudes and didn't tell you.
Yeah, and he wasn't on that date. He hadn't been in the house, and obviously the guys that weren't on that date probably found out from the other guys. So I think it was a good thing she did end up telling him, and it was another opportunity for her to open up and promote awareness to this.
Yeah. Actually, I just looked it up, and Blake is. Okay, he's from Canada, and he is a wildlife manager. His former Bachelorette bio said that he studied every kind of wildlife management program he could get his hands on in college. Now he spends his days happily working outdoors. He also volunteers to work with different endangered species every year.
So that's probably why he spent time in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never really talked about it at all on Claritaceous season. Obviously, we haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting, and it may be something you can easily like pick up and move somewhere else if he ends up ending up with Katie or say Paradise or something like that. Just like a future. But after she ends up getting the rose, one of my favorite singers appeared on the show, Lane Hardy. He was on American Idol. I mean, I always loved him on American Idol. I don't think he has many like hit songs right now.
No, but he has.
But I have been listening
following.
He does, and I've been listening to that song that he sang for Blake and Kate. Just I thought it was a really good song.
I don't know much about him, but he actually was on Brendan's mom's podcast.
Yeah,
and he has a huge following. Like every time we would post social media about him, he would get like, he's the one that would always bring us in the most likes and the most comments and stuff. Like people really love him. So I was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like they didn't have a lot of country singers last season, obviously because of the pandemic. So I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
They had
a few years ago they had Chase Rice. For Peter's season.
They had a band on Tayshia's. I just can't remember their name.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but his performance was very well. Obviously, he won American Idol. Wasn't even supposed to be on the season when he won. But that was awesome. And then we end up going into a group date. A bunch of the guys, everyone left besides Andrew. Andrew ends up getting the one-on-one, but we see the host of the show. We're constantly seeing guest appearances, but this time it is Wells and Franco. And I've been seeing ever since the episode so many promotions for Wells to be host. I would
love Wells to be the host.
That in, but it was a Katie's bash ball battle. So mix between rugby, basketball, football. It was kind of just a big testosterone match between all the guys.
Yeah. It was super competitive, like a little too competitive, obviously. Like we see that Hunter, gets super aggressive and it ends up making, which is weird, but like I think he thought that was like what Katie liked because he got like the rose or whatever that night, which we'll talk about, but like he all of a sudden I feel like this episode he was so cocky, and I don't know why, because I don't remember them having, like, I know they've talked and had a good connection, but I don't remember it being any more than like some of the other guys. So I was so confused as to why he was like really cocky and like was going on about how like he's gonna win this, or he's gonna win Katie, whatever.
Yeah. I think he sort of set the mood for the whole entire match.
Oh yeah.
And once he laid the first hit, everybody was kind of juiced up, and everybody went after each other and started hitting each other. And then we had guys on the ground. We had guys.
I know he knocked out one of my favorites, Michael.
Yeah, he knocked out Mike, and then Justin knocked out Michael A.
Oh,
yes.
Okay,
they promoted that very incorrectly. A lot of people were mad about that. That the previews made it seem like Hunter was the one who injured Michael A.
I was wondering because I thought it was him, and then Justin came up and was like, I think he just apologized, and I was like, maybe he was just like apologizing like for Hunter in general. I thought it was him. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, they kind of angled the previews all towards Hunter, and made him out. I mean, he sort of did become one of the bad guys in the episode, but it sort of added fuel to the fire in that case, and it made it look like he was the one that took out Michael.
Yeah, well, I mean, they showed him taking out every other person, so I think that also was just like we thought it was him.
Yeah.
But then obviously, like, which we see all the time, was they said one of the teams would go home and one of them would get time with Katie, and then of course, like, Katie let them all go. And honestly, I expected more of a reaction from the guys. Maybe it's because with the girls they're more like bitchy, but I feel like the girls get so mad when that happens. And like only Hunter like I think Hunter made like a comment on camera, but like none of them really cared that all of them shared the time, or at least it wasn't shown.
Yeah, I think the only reason why it wasn't that big of an issue is because the match never ended, and I don't think it was close to ending. Because she stopped it because Michael A got hurt. So I think that's a little bit of why. But luckily Michael A was okay. He just makes even more of a case, if he's not the one at the end of this, why he should be the next Bachelor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think so many people are calling for it. I definitely recommend. I don't know if you've listened to it, but he was on a podcast with Becca Kufrin and Catherine Lowe. And he talks about a lot of his backstory that he didn't talk about on the show, which I definitely recommend listening to, which was good. Trying to think of what else happened in the rest of the night with the group date.
So he opens up, which I thought was huge. So Michael A told Katie that the day before the date was his wife, his widow, his wife who passed away, his birthday. And he opened up to all the guys about it, but like he did it in a way where he wasn't looking for a sob story, and he wasn't looking for people to feel guilty for him. And I thought it was very sweet. And it made me realize that like they kept showing Greg and Greg's reaction to it. And if you remember from one of the first dates, Greg lost his dad, and him and Katie, bond over that. And Greg like totally didn't take away his moment from him again, which is what same with Katie. He didn't take the moment from her. And he easily could have been like, I know what you're going through. Like, my dad died at a young age. Like, death is awful. And he so didn't. He was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Wow, you're so strong. Like, was hyping him up. Not hyping, that's the wrong word, but like, just acknowledging everything. And I was like, again, Greg, like, you're so sweet. You didn't try and make it about you. You totally made it about Michael.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated Greg during that, and you could just tell how much it hurt him, broke him down, and like he wasn't the only one. A lot of the guys started tearing up. A lot of the guys came to hug him because you really don't know the stories of the other guys unless you ask them or you watch it back later,
right?
And actually get to know them, but. I think they all gained a little bit more appreciation for Michael. I don't think anybody had hard feelings with Michael in terms of beef, but I definitely think they like him now, and like they're all friends.
No, I agree. And I think if they like had any ill will towards him, they know that like he's clearly not here to be famous. Like he's not going to just leave his kid in like this huge weight on his shoulder just to be like here for the wrong reason. So I think that like was obvious to them. I have to tell you, I do think that Michael will be, this is something we see every time there's someone with kids on the show. I think he's going to get sent. I think he's going to either choose to go home because it's too much for him not seeing his kid, or Katie will send him home, which we've seen before where the Bachelorette will be like, you know, I don't want to take you away from the time that you have with your kids and send him home. I don't think he's going to go all the way.
Yeah, I don't know if you paid attention to the preview for the next episode, but he does talk to his son. And I might be wrong. It was very quick, but it said the kid said something on FaceTime, and it was like, "You don't want to see me," or something like
said,
that.
Daddy doesn't. Yeah.
And I think that may hit very hard for him. And I mean, he lost his wife. He's gone through a lot, and you know the kid's gone through a lot as well. And I think sometimes there's more important things that he's got to attend to.
Yeah, I agree. But obviously, like we, you know, Greg says not to Katie, but to the camera crew that he's falling in love with Katie, which is huge. I think he's like the first one. And then it ended with Hunter getting the rose, which I thought was so random. Like I don't know why he got it. Like he showed her pictures of him and his kids, but like I didn't think that it was rose worthy.
Yeah. I have many mixed feelings about Hunter. We'll get to it quickly in the cocktail party, but following the group date, we get the one-on-one with Andrew. It's a little cute scavenger hunt date where they're sort of picking envelopes and then they are asking each other questions, you know, about like their future aspirations, their past, like who inspires them. And they definitely get to know each other more, and you see a connection begin to grow even more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've seen in the past, because they've had conversations about how they grew up with similar childhoods, like the way they were raised and the way they saw their parents' relationship and all that. And so I kind of knew going into it that they would have like an easy conversation. So they definitely have a great connection and a lot in common. But I'll be honest, and this is just me being naive and you know, a naive white girl, I kind of, because we had back to back of a, you know, a biracial bachelorette and then a Black bachelor, that I forgot that those conversations still need to be had. And so obviously, like, you don't expect Katie to bring it up because she's a white bachelorette, and Trey brings it up, which I was, you know, happy they had the conversation. And honest, what I say, I keep calling him Trey, Andrew. I lost my train of thought. And so I was really impressed by Katie's reaction when he was like, you know, I've dated a woman in the past who just like could not see herself having mixed kids. And obviously, like, Katie just was like, I don't effing care what color they are. Like, as long as they're like beautiful on the inside. And she even said not by looks, just like beautiful people. She was like, that's all I care about. And I think that was just like the light bulb for him. And he was like, all right, like, I love her.
Yeah, I don't remember which season it was, but this conversation was brought up quickly. It was either with Tayshia's dad with one of the guys, or it was Matt with one of the girls, possibly Rachel. But there was a similar conversation either about, you know, kids being a mixed color or just dating. What, like, have you ever dated someone of a different color? And
well, it definitely was brought up with Tayshia, because wasn't Tayshia, there was someone who never brought home a white guy. I want to say it was Tayshia when she brought Colton home, maybe. And that question was brought up, like, have you ever dated anyone mixed, or, you know, had a mixed relationship?
Yeah, but we clearly see a good relationship with Katie and Andrew.
Yeah.
You see, a lot of people love Andrew, and I can tell you like him, but I just get
love
mixed.
Andrew.
I have mixed feelings about Andrew just because I get such clout chaser vibes from him.
Yeah, I could see that.
And especially, I've mentioned this before, he's Clay Harbor's cousin. He's a big clout chaser in the Bachelor franchise. I don't know. I get mixed feelings from Andrew. I like him. His whenever he goes in his accent, it bothers me very much. I think it's rude. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how far he'll go. But they clearly do have a strong connection. He does get the rose at the end of it. And he's locked for the rose ceremony.
Yeah. So then after that, we move on to the cocktail party, and typical people aren't happy because Hunter is getting one-on-one time with Katie, and he already has a rose, which is, something that we obviously see very often. And I was happy that James finally, like, him and Aaron were bitching about it. And this happens all the time. People sit there and they complain, but they don't do anything about it. And it's like, instead of wasting your time complaining, like, go do what he's doing and talk to her. So he finally did and interrupted. And obviously, I think Hunter was annoyed, but James had every right. Like, you already have a rose. Let someone else spend time. And if he wants to break it up, then he should.
Yeah.
And he's just so cocky. Again, I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I also am not too opposed to what Hunter did. In terms of like going for more time. I think like obviously it's shortened because of it's a TV show. But like if it's quick in and out, like I don't see a problem with it. You don't care about what the other guy's thoughts are. Obviously you want to be cool with people in the house, but also you're there for Katie and not for anybody else. Right. So I get it. And also he's kind of an underdog in every scenario this whole season so far. He hasn't gotten a one-on-one yet. He's barely got much time on the group dates other than this one. So, he's got to make up for lost time. So I wasn't too opposed to what he did.
Yeah. I just think he's someone that is a lot of talk and a lot of game, but doesn't actually have game, because like he kept saying how he was like, I'm not even thinking about time with Katie. I'm thinking about hometowns and I'm thinking about proposing. And like, he was so far down the line, and it was like, dude, you're still at the very beginning. Like, you do need to be thinking about that stuff. Like, clearly you are, because you just staged an entire date with her. Like, you definitely are like, I don't know. He just makes it seem like he's like, oh, I don't need to do anything now. Like, I'm locked in. And it's like, no, you still do. Like, there's still 15 guys there.
Yeah. I don't see him going far. I think he may last a couple more weeks because we are going to see things sort of take off. You're just going to eliminate people just because time-wise lining up with Paradise. But I think he may be here for a couple more weeks. But we get to the rose ceremony and we see 3 guys go home. I wasn't too shocked about it. We saw Courtney, Josh, and Andrew. I do like Courtney. I think he's sort of been not a fan favorite, but like nobody's had problems with him. And people like him. So I was a little surprised to see him go home. I thought maybe somebody else would end up going home, but she's narrowing down guys, and I think she's at 12 now. Yeah, 12 after these 3.
Yeah.
So it's
about right.
She's gonna start getting down to business when it comes to eliminating the guys.
Yeah, that preview was nuts. I mean, I will actually say this. It's like I really don't know if I have my predictions of who I think just based on like relationship wise, but watching the trailer, like there's nothing in there that I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is going to happen, or I really don't know what's going to happen with her season.
Yeah. I actually really liked that promo for the rest of the season. I thought it was very well edited. In terms of a production standpoint, it kind of felt like a movie trailer. So I thought I was really impressed with that. I don't know how the season's gonna go. Like you said, I think there's definitely the front runners right now. In my opinion, like I think she has a relationship with Andrew, Greg, Blake. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys.
Yeah, there. So I want to know who you like. I can definitely give mine. If you're not ready, you don't have to, but do you want to say, like, at this point, do you have 4 people, your final 4 that you think?
4 people? I definitely think Greg will go far. If Michael A doesn't leave because of his son, I think he will be there at a hometown. Blake will probably go far. And I mean, I'm between Justin and Andrew, maybe. There's just there's not many like very, very strong connections that have grown, I feel like.
So can I tell you mine? And I swear to you, I did not look anything up. This is truly based on what I think is going to happen. Okay. I don't know in order, just 4. I need more time to pick like a final 1, 2, 3. But I think, well, actually, I do think Blake wins. I think Blake and Katie end up staying together. I think that final 4 is Blake, Greg, Andrew, and Mike. Mike the Virgin.
Yeah. You see, I think he could be sneaky. I think I like Mike. I don't know. He could go far.
I think
I also like Connor B. I think they have
I
was gonna say I think her and Connor B have a very good connection. So I think he could go somewhat far. And I mean he wowed her with his song. Which was impressive. Gave me Jed vibes, but
very much. I literally was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, this is Jed all over again. How many times is he going to play the guitar? Like, I get it. He played the guitar.
Yeah. I don't even know if the spoilers are out in terms of the end.
Yeah, I don't know either, actually.
I'll be very curious because if you go on my TikTok from back in filming, I posted that Blake was completely MIA and filming was completely done at the time. And he was in hiding. But also there were a couple other guys that still had not posted since leaving the show. Some that I think aren't even still there.
Well,
he clearly goes far because he was completely MIA. Unless that's a production thing where they make him. But I don't know. I think it's too good to be true. And we never see people. Well, I guess Nick Viall went far. I was going to say we never see people that just jump on the show, go far.
I do think that I mean, I was wrong the last time I heard rumors. I was told that there were rumors that one of the guys who I forgot his name, John or something, that was voted off very early on.
The bartender.
Was that yes, because she was there, but I did see stuff that there were like TikToks and stuff, people saying that what you just said about him going MIA, he posts with cats all the time. And someone was like, he literally like something like more.
I think he posted with cats though before.
Okay.
Because I remember he posted something right before going on the show and it was with a cat. Maybe it was a dog. I'll have to check. I do hope that John's in paradise. I haven't even looked at the whole list. But I've seen a couple names from previous seasons. I don't know guys from this season, but I hope Connor's on there. Yes, he did post with a cat the day that week before he left. That's funny. Yeah. So I mean that pretty much wrapped up that episode. I don't think there's anything big in terms of news for Paradise or anything else. Obviously, everybody's still waiting on who's going to take Chris Harrison's spot, and people are saying for Wells, people are saying for Ben Higgins. So I think that'll be interesting to see.
It definitely won't be Ben Higgins because I just read an article today that he actually went home to his hometown, like where his parents live, because he suffered like a breakdown, like a mental breakdown he had. And so he had to go back home to his parents. So I don't think he would I don't think he's the host in Paradise unless Paradise was like horrible for him. And that's why he went home. But I don't see why it would be.
Yeah.
If he's hosting.
I also think I feel like him and Chris are very close from what we've seen. So I think him taking over may be something not of like a bro code, but kind of like I don't know. You don't want to step in to what your best friend just got pretty much kicked out of. But I think the Bachelorette in the fall will be a big test. if they throw someone in like Wells
to
do it. But that wraps it up here for this episode of After the Final Rose with Alana and Dante. Make sure to check us out on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcast streaming platforms. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at ATFR_podcast. Follow us there as well as on YouTube to watch the video streams. But yeah, make sure to like as well so that, every time we post, every time we go live or whatever. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good